Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, Mark.
Tina, how's it going?
Fantastic. I hope everyone else is having a really good day. I'm really, really excited to be here because today we're going to be talking about what to do when group work kind of goes wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to tell, because we have so many people that say, look, I've done everything that people tell me to do. I've randomized the kids, they're at the whiteboards, and then it just all fizzles, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to show you a paper that actually gives some ideas of what to do for that.
Yeah.
Before we do that, though, Mark, let's just thank everyone for subscribing and sharing. The word's actually getting out there. And so this is so awesome because there's all of these cool things hidden in these research papers that you and I are trying to get out there for everyone to use because we don't want kids suffering in math class anymore.
Yes. So this paper particularly is interesting because it really fits well with people who are doing building thinking classrooms, right?
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. And so that's taking off, but there are some nuances around building thinking
Yeah.
classrooms and some things that happen that the teachers that we work with are like, What do we do? Like, I did all this stuff that you told me to do." And
Yeah.
then they just they went up to their boards and they just sort of looked at each other,
Yeah.
right?
And I read the problem out loud and I repeated it like several times because nobody, I did, and then they wanted it up, they didn't like that or something happened, right?
Yeah, and it just fizzled. They're just
Yeah.
staring at each other in their
Yeah.
groups, right? Like, so Mark, this paper is awesome because it talks about the collective, like the classroom as a collective. So a big, huge group, right?
Mhm.
And the idea that we think is most useful for like what to do when group work has gone wrong is their idea about a pollinator in here.
The pollinator, and I wanna read the sentence about the pollinator, Tina, because when I
Okay.
read it, I was like, "Alright, I need some help with this."
Okay, so the pollinator is right here on this page, Mark. So I'll let you read everyone out. I'm not sure that everyone can read that from their screen.
Okay, I'm gonna read it, and then you can help me out. One student we came to nickname the pollinator for his peripatetic spreading of ideas around the room. Okay,
Yeah.
Tina, I practiced that word before the video, so we could talk about it. What the heck does peripatetic
Did
mean?
you let's make sure we pronounced it properly first, right? Let's hear. Okay. I think you did a pretty good job, Mark. But yeah, sometimes in these research papers, it's like there's so much stuff in there, right? And it's
Yeah,
hard to sort of make sense of. So, Mark, in my mind, what I'm actually envisioning is I'm envisioning, the kids at the boards, right? And then but there's a kid that they've called the pollinator, and that person is actually like doing what a bee would do, and it's pollinating, right? So this is
mhm,
what pollinating has to do with group work. So that kid's probably going up to one group and like maybe leaving something behind for them to think about, and then
ah,
maybe going to another group and then like it's going like, oh, that's a really good idea, I'm going to bring that back to my group. Or maybe instead of bringing it back to my group, I'm going to bring it even to another group and then bring things back to mine. So it's like pollination. So pollination has a
yeah.
huge thing to do with group work. So again, when you do everything right and you put all the kids in the groups and they're up there on their whiteboards and something doesn't happen, what you can do is you can actually encourage pollination. So you can
Yeah,
ask them to go around and find a really good idea, right?
and so then there's this shifting of responsibility onto the students, right?
Yeah, well, and then they don't think that learning is like for them to come up with like these aha brilliant ideas.
Right.
They're like their job now is to actually be able to identify a good idea and pollinate it, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
sprinkle it around, right? Like use
Yeah.
it for their own. So I think that's a really important piece. Now, Mark, pollination doesn't happen all the time. And one thing that this paper talks about too, which I think is really, really purposeful, and Mark, we saw a teacher do it in person, um, is you have to be really specific that whatever goes on the boards is now owned by everyone in the classroom.
Mhm. It's public.
It's public and it's owned by everyone. So anyone can use those ideas. So no more of this like kids like hiding ideas and keeping them to themselves. We're actually like we're
That's
doing
my
that,
this is mine.
right?
Yeah.
No more of that. So we
No.
want kids up on groups and we also want them sharing ideas and like not owning the ideas, right?
So the documentations that get made up on the board become public, and it's something that we know now or that
Yeah.
we have access to. And that goes back to like another video that we talked about when it's the development of we.
Yes, exactly. So we're getting all these ideas out here. We hope that you liked this idea of pollination, because what does group work have to do with pollination? Now you can talk about it, right? So
Awesome.
please continue to like, share, subscribe, and help us spread all this around so that we have amazing math teachers and kids.